Boom! Welcome to SportsBIT Betting Insight today. I'm Teddy Covers. Paulie, what are we going to say? Technical issues have derailed Paulie for today's show. That means I'm going solo on a Friday. We'll do the best we can to give you all the information that you expect from your Sports Central for gamblers. We got bad beats, bad bets, bad for the books, 4 big game breakdowns in the NFL. Let's get right to it. Of course, we'll close out the show with the play of the day, which has been running pretty good the last couple of weeks. See if we can keep the hot streak rolling. Let's start with a bad beat, a bad push. Depends on what number you got. That, of course, would be the L.A. Rams, who look to be very much in control of that game against San Francisco last night and let it all get away late in the fourth quarter. What did the Rams have? Let's see. They had a fumbled punt. They had a fumbled kickoff. They allowed an onside kick recovery. They blew a 2-touchdown lead in the fourth quarter. Yeah, we'll call it a complete meltdown. When LA gets to 40, they're supposed to frickin' cover. Didn't happen, of course. And then they stopped the 2-point conversion. That's their only chance to cover. It was the San Fran made it. And then, of course, right at the end, that one last F job right at the end. Gurley breaks free as they're trying to run out the clock, but it doesn't get into the end zone. The ball fumbles. He runs in the end zone, but you can't take the fumble forward. Yeah, Rams took a knee. F job. If you had L.A., that was a tough beat. Big night for Todd Gurley. Big night for Jared Goff. Big night for the Rams offense. Wasn't enough with the success that San Francisco had moving the football against them. Bad bets. Well, let's start with the Rams under. That certainly stands out in that regard. The early week money pushed it way down. It was 42 at the open bound to 39.5. Game day money pushed it back up a little bit, but this was a game. If you had the under, you were never in it. You were in trouble in the first quarter and never got any better. That's certainly a bad bet. Good handful of bad bets in MLB last night. The Angels took money again, plus 123, all the way up to minus 110. I just don't get it. They bet LA heavily in every game of that series. They were fading the Indians. Didn't work out too well for them. The bad news for the Tribe, of course, is that Danny Salazar can only work 2.2 innings. He may not be healthy enough to trust in the postseason, but an elite bullpen did it again. 6.1 scoreless innings for the Tribe out of the pen. The Angels took a bunch of money. The Angels were a bad bet. Here's another one, the Tampa Bay Rays. I can't follow the markets for bucking a fading Orioles team. Rays beating the ball into the ground last night. 11 ground ball outs. They couldn't get the job done against the young Orioles rookie. Tampa, 35-cent move. They lose. And what about Seattle? Still hanging around in the wild card race. They brought back Felix Hernandez and James Paxton to keep those fading wild card hopes alive. Neither guy looks like they're ready. Paxton couldn't get out of the fourth last night. Seattle remains 2.5 out. Look at the picture. Yeah, there's Paxton walking off the hill after not a particularly pretty performance. We do have a bad result for the books last night. This was a really bad result for the house. And it's not often I get to say this on SportsBIT. The bookmakers flat out made a mistake yesterday. Flat out mistake. They opened the Cardinals at minus 140. The Cardinals closed at minus 190. And St. Louis, they were running around the bases against Homer Bailey until he was pulled. Bailey's ERA now up to 6.96. One of the worst dollars per performance ratios in MLB history. St. Louis takes a ton of money, and they win easily over Cincinnati. That was a bad result for the house. It's Friday. What does that mean? That means it's pros versus Joes time when it comes to the NFL for this weekend. Here on SportsBIT, we always like to let you know where the money is coming, who the public likes, who the wise guys like. And this week, there's some pretty clear definition between the pros and the Joes. Let's take a look at the pros first. Pro money. The wise guys have been betting the Bears this week. They don't trust Pittsburgh as road favorites. They've been betting the Saints this week. They don't trust Carolina as chalk right now. The Panthers' offense has looked out of sync. We've seen heavy money coming on the Tennessee Titans. Wise guys have pushed that line all the way up to 3. Not a lot of love for Seattle in a short dog roll. The Bungles are taking money. Cincinnati against Green Bay. That's clearly a wise guy choice this week. The Sharps very concerned about the status of that Packers offensive line that had 4 guys hurt by the end of the game last week. And we've seen Arizona money from the pros for Monday Night Football. Look at that Dallas secondary right now. If Scandrick doesn't play this week, they have basically nobody back there. The Cowboys have some major issues on the defensive side of the football, hence the Arizona money. As for the Joes, well, we're talking about pros versus Joes. Come on, you even need me to tell you who the Joes like? And it's funny because this is a week where the Joes really think they have it figured out. There are tons of betting opinions among the recreational players, a lot of one-sided action for the books that cater to recreational bettors. I mean, what do we got for the Joes? Let's see. Who won and covered last week? Oh, the Chiefs did. yeah, they like the Chiefs. The Broncos did. Oh, yeah, they like the Broncos. The Raiders did. Oh, they like the Raiders. The Steelers did. Oh, they like the Steelers. The Dolphins won and covered last week. No, look at that. The top 5 Joes, all teams that won and covered last week. Oh, they're all favorites as well. They're all laying. That's not all for the recreational players. I mean, I put them into groups of 5. Here's 5 more because there's an honorable mention for the Joes this week. It's not just the 5 chalk that I just talked about. The Joes like the Patriots. Heck, the Patriots are up to a full -14 right now, despite the fact that their defense is ranked number 31 in the NFL in yards per play allowed. You don't see that very often. The Joes in love with New England again. Baltimore against Jacksonville, obviously, a team that covered last week, laying points. Same thing with the Patriots, team that covered last week, laying points. Packers, well, Packers didn't cover last week, but they're still laying points, and they're still the Packers. They're going to take attention. Falcons and Eagles are also popular choices amongst recreational players. So there you have it. The pros and the Joes. Really, the only significant sharp square divide game is that Chicago versus Pittsburgh game, where the pros clearly like the dog, the recreational players clearly like the favorite. Other than that, the pros and Joes mostly are lining up on different games. All right. When I come back, it's Big Game Breakdown. And you know what Friday shows are all about here on SportsBIT. It's the NFL. If you want college, check back in the archives for yesterday's version of SportsBIT. We got 4 Big Game Breakdowns there. Plus, earlier in the week, we'll be sending out clips. And, of course, you should be watching the clips as they get tweeted out all weekend long. If you miss any part of the show, you know, go back and check out the archives. Right back here on SportsBIT. Betting Insight today from SBRpicks.com.
Go to SBRodds.com. Browse, compare, and shop live odds available at top online sportsbooks.
Welcome back to SportsBIT Betting Insight today. Paulie and Teddy, we have no Paulie today. Technical difficulties have derailed his appearance on SportsBIT. Not going to have Paulie talk without a camera for 20 minutes on a Friday. So you're stuck with me here on SportsBIT. Teddy covers, doing the best I can. Of course, Big Game Breakdown, always sponsored and powered by betonline.ag. For any type of wager that you're looking for, they have a great bonus offers. And pretty much, look, I have no hesitation recommending BetOnline AG, a very reputable book. Of course, go to sportsbookreview.com. Check out their bonus page for the best bonus offers for BetOnline AG. I encourage you, if you have 1 out, get 2. If you have 2 outs, get 3. If you have 3 outs, get 4. The more outs you have, the more games you're likely to win by a half point instead of losing by a half point. Check out betonline.ag today. All right, Big Game Breakdown. Let's start with a little wake up and win. Early start action on Sunday from London. Of course, this is one that starts 6:30 a.m. here on the left coast, 9:30 on the East Coast. It'll be live streamed via Yahoo this week. And this is the 5th straight season for the Jacksonville Jaguars in London. Of course, Baltimore, 3.5, 39.5 at the current numbers. The Jags, first trip to London, they got annihilated. Second trip to London, they got annihilated. Third trip to London, they won. Fourth trip to London, they won again. They won each of the last 2 trips. You can see the picture from the win over the Colts last year, and they're staying on the same schedule. You know, they fly through the night on Thursday. They practice on Friday. Jacksonville, more comfortable than most teams when it comes to international travel and international games. And look, you know, we've talked about the Jags having better weapons around Blake Bortles, even with the loss of Allen Robinson. But Bortles is who he is. I mean, he was just awful again against the Tennessee Titans. It was Bortles who was largely responsible for putting the team down 30-3 before a couple of meaningless backdoor drives. There's a great study by 538.com, who does a lot of strong analytic work. It showed how Bortles has been one of the NFL's best quarterbacks in the last 2 seasons. Yeah, only during garbage time. His garbage time of one-sided games, Bortles has been great. He's one of the worst quarterbacks, actually the worst quarterback in the NFL when the game has been on the line. Here's a good quote from Doug Marrone talking about whether this season is Blake Bortles' last chance. Quote, "It's big for Blake, but it's big for everyone. What year is big and what year is not? They're all big. You only have so many of them in your career, and if you don't do well, the league will eat you up and spit you out. He has to take care of the football, make good decisions, and then when we need him to make a play, he has to make a play for us, just like anyone else on this team." Of course, Blake Bortles, in terms of making plays, well, let's call it few and far between. He's looked like a deer in the headlights. In the preseason, looked like a deer in the headlights in each of the first 2 games. The Jags team around him has no shortage of talent, particularly on the defensive side of the football. That Jags defense is absolutely loaded. They kept Tennessee out of the end zone last week, even until well into the third quarter when the offense completely melted down. The Jags defense certainly good enough to cover a point spread all by themselves in the opener at Tennessee. But they're not the only defense playing great. Look at the Ravens defense. They're on a record pace right now. 8 interceptions and 8 sacks through the first 2 games. That's an all-time record. They're the only team in NFL history to have at least 3 interceptions and 3 sacks in each of their first 2 ball games. That is a defense that's making plays. And, of course, they're facing a turnover-prone offense with a weak quarterback. But on the offensive side of the football, man, Baltimore's in trouble. You know, they lost Marshall Yanda, who is, not a household name. He's been to the last 6 Pro Bowls. Okay. Yanda is without a doubt the spiritual leader of that offensive line, the guy that everyone looks to. And boy, when you look at the Yanda loss and put it in with all the other guys that Baltimore has lost from that offensive line since just the end of last year, man, there are issues for Baltimore offensively, and they're not going away. Well, look at the chart here. Yanda lost, Zutta lost, Wagner lost. Urschel, remember, he was supposed to be their starting center. He quit, retired right before training camp, said, "I'm not coming back." Alex Lewis hurt. Nico Siragusa hurt. So we're talking about 3 guys who were full-time starters last year. Lewis started 8 games. Urschel started 3. So basically, this is a completely rebuilt Baltimore lineup. And offensive line, I should say. And by the way, when you talk about the emotional impact of Yanda being gone, here's a quote, great quote from tight end Benjamin Watson. "It's tough emotionally. Even before I came here, everyone in the league knows about Marshall and how special he is, his excellence on the offensive line, and the way guys gravitate towards him, the leader that he is. So it's definitely going to hurt. Football is a team game. We're going to put 11 on the field and someone's going to play. The train never stops. But emotionally, when a guy like that goes down, it's definitely going to be tough to move forward." And of course, we have offensive line issues for Baltimore in a big way. There may be a quarterback issue as well. I haven't seen any evidence. Watch Joe Flacco twice, and it's been easy for Flacco. He's had a lead. The defense created turnovers. Again, the Ravens have a plus 10. Sorry, they've created 10 turnovers, have a plus 7 margin. No one else in the NFL has created more than 5 turnovers. So Flacco's had it real easy the first couple of weeks. I haven't seen a whole lot of evidence that he's anywhere near 100% after missing the entire preseason. Certainly, what is that, 340 passing yards through the first 2 games. I'm very curious to see whether Joe Flacco is going to be able to throw the football down the field should Baltimore be trailing in the fourth quarter of this one. We're going to get back to this game when it comes to play of the day time. Falcons and the Lions. Detroit off the impressive Monday night win. Atlanta off the impressive Sunday night win. Falcons 3-point road favorites, total of 50.5. And this is a Falcons team that's gotten the job done on the highway on a very consistent basis. Atlanta 7-2 straight up, 7-2 against the spread on the road over the last 2 seasons. And they beat the spread by a combined 84 points over the 9 games. I know they didn't cover week 1 at Chicago, but they won the game. And certainly if they win by, what they win by 6 at the Bears, win by 6 here, they will cover the number. But it's worth noting, and this is something we've talked about a little bit on sports, but let's talk about it a little bit more right now. How is that Falcons offensive transition working? When you're going from Kyle Shanahan, who coached 39 points out of the 49ers last night, to Steve Sarkisian. So far, look at the numbers. Well, the points per game down slightly, the yards per game down fairly significantly, yards per play down a notch, still very good. The one that stood out to me, SPS, that stands for seconds per snap. The pace, not what it was last year. They're down more than more than 2 seconds per snap slower than a season ago. They cashed an over ticket still on Monday Night Football after going way under in the opener against the Bears. It's worth noting the pace is down and the defense looks pretty darn solid so far. It's a very young Falcons defense, but boy, they've drafted athletic guys that can run and hit. Now they lose Vic Beasley for probably about the next 3 games, it looks like. They're going to have to rely on UCLA rookie Tack McKinley, although McKinley's a pretty good player. Dan Quinn doesn't sound worried at all. Quote, with Vic out, we'll lean on Tack and Brooks Reed and Derek Shelby, who can also play outside. We are fortunate that we have some depth at the position this year. That's a big difference between the Falcons this year and in recent years on the defense side of the football. The defensive depth vastly improved from where it was from even last year for Atlanta. Lions, well, I mean, their ground game was really one of the NFL's worst last year. And they didn't make a whole lot of moves. They did shore up their offensive line in the offseason, but in terms of drafting a back or anything like that, no. The healthy Amir Abdullah, they thought would be all that they needed. Abdullah healthy now. He only played in 2 games in 2016. But in the 2 games he's played here in 2017, 116 yards, 32 carries, 3.6 yards a carry. But he had the one 32-yard run against the Giants. The other 31 carries, we're talking about 2.7 yards per carry. They are not running the football effectively still, despite the offensive line improvement, despite the fact that Abdullah is healthy. That's a concern for Matthew Stafford moving forward. But, earlier in the week, right here on SportsBIT, we told you about how much rookie Jarrad Davis means to that Lions defense. Had a great quote about how Davis is the guy who's been calling the plays, the rookie, the guy who's been calling the plays in the defensive huddle. Well, Davis has a concussion. He's yet to practice. He's still in concussion protocol. There are going to be major adjustments if he can't go, either Tahir Whitehead or Paul Warrilow has to slide over the middle, and the rookie, Jalen Reeves-Maybin, is going to fill in for whichever one moves to middle linebacker. That's tough to do. Remember, Lions are playing on a short week, and of course, they're playing an opponent that throws a lot to the running backs who attack the linebackers. And look at this graphic. This is just showing the impact that Jarrad Davis has had for Detroit already this season. Let's see. He had a sack and a fumble recovery in 2 games. The entire Lions linebacking core in 16 games last year, 0 sacks, 0 fumble recoveries. Watch that injury report. Jarrad Davis, he's not going to move the needle on the point spread. But whether he plays or not will absolutely have an impact on how well the Lions are able to defend the Atlanta Falcons on Sunday. When we come back, what do we got? Seahawks, Titans, heck yeah, and Sunday Night Football, Raiders, Redskins, plus the play of the day. You don't want to miss the play of the day. We've been running pretty good. Stay tuned right here on SportsBIT. Betting Insight today from sportsbookreview.com.
Research before you bet. Be sure to check out SBR Picks for the best game predictions, breakdowns, and much, much more.
We're here in the home stretch of SportsBIT Betting Insight today. Paulie and Teddy. No Paulie today. We had technical difficulties. He should be back for Monday's show, but just because we don't have Paulie, the show must go on. That means big game breakdown. Let's continue. We're breaking down the NFL from a Las Vegas perspective. And now let's go to Tennessee, where the Titans have been a popular wise guy choice. Tennessee bet up to -3 against Seattle. Total 42.5, and the wise guys have been loading up on Tennessee in this game. The market's clearly showing that they believe in 2017, not the past, in making Tennessee not just a chalk, but betting them up to a field goal. This point spread is the sign that the Tennessee Titans have achieved market respect. When they're laying 3 at home against Seattle, when the markets are saying these 2 teams are power rated even, that clearly a sign of respect for Tennessee. Of course, a lot of this has to do with the fact that Seattle's offense isn't working. It's been the same story for the Seahawks the last 3 or 4 years. Another year, another bad Seattle offensive line. They didn't score their first touchdown until 7.5 quarters into the season, midway through the fourth quarter, when they were trailing 9-6 to the 49ers. Only the Colts, who have no quarterback, and the Texans, who have a rookie quarterback, are averaging fewer yards per play than Seattle this season. Russell Wilson's already been sacked 6 times, and he has 14 rush attempts, many of which were avoiding sacks. Russell Wilson cannot be handling that kind of contact on a week-in, week-out basis. He's trying to be diplomatic, talking about the offensive line. Quote, "Well, I think we can all be better. It's not just those guys on the OL. I'm the biggest critic of myself. I think there's a couple of throws in there that I could hit and find a way to make those throws. I think winners find a way to win. So for me personally, that's how I, as a competitor, no matter what the circumstances are, you have to still find a way to win." Now, look, this Seahawks defense has been great against the pass. No one's been able to throw the ball, even Aaron Rodgers, against Seattle so far, this defense, but a little bit soft against the run. They've given up 5.2 yards per rush so far this season. Carlos Hyde ran it down their throat last week, and that's a problem. You're giving up chunks of rushing yards against Tennessee in Tennessee. On this field, the Titans are a squad that can run the football very effectively. Of course, they have the depth at running back that's challenge that Seattle defense inside. DeMarco Murray's not 100%. He may not even play this week. That doesn't bother me one bit. Derrick Henry is every bit as good, if not better, than DeMarco Murray right now. Henry so far this season, 5.8 yards per carry compared to Murray's 3.3. They've had basically the same number of attempts between them. So if Murray's not 100%, non-factor, in my opinion, then Derrick Henry is more than capable of handling the workload. And of course, when you talk about a bad offensive line versus a good offensive line, Tennessee's got a strong offensive line. It's developing into an elite unit, really one of the NFL's best. They've averaged 4.8 yards per carry for the season. Marcus Mariota's only been sacked 2 times in 70 dropbacks. Only Drew Brees and Phillip Rivers have been sacked at a lower rate so far. Now, it's not just DeMarco Murray who's hurt this week. It's also Corey Davis. They're not going to have the rookie wide receiver out of Western Michigan, but there's another rookie that you may not be as familiar with, Taywan Taylor. He's going to get more playing time this week because of Davis's injury, and they like his big playmaking ability. Mike Mularkey, quote, "It was part of the plan. Taywan, we had some things designed with him in there." Question, of course, for the Titans, is this team good enough to seal close games against other good squads? The real statement game for Tennessee. The market certainly think that they're going to have the opportunity to beat a Seattle squad that is struggling badly on the offensive side of the football. Sunday night, Oakland Raiders, the Daters against the Redskins. Oakland -3, 54.5. This line's bouncing 3.5. It's pretty much 3. It's 3 at Bet Online, and most of the markets have moved to 3. But if you like the Redskins, you can still catch a +3.5. If you like the Raiders, you can still find a -3. Now, look, last year, a lot of things broke right for Oakland to go 12-4. Really. I mean, we're talking about a squad that, tied for the NFL lead in positive turnover differential, and they won all the close games at the end. They had a fantastic record in one-score games and game decided by less than a TD, et cetera, et cetera. The lucky breaks were with Oakland last year, no question, 12-4. This year, through 2 games, they're playing like a team that legitimately deserved to go 12-4. The key, to both sides of the football have played better. On defense, the Raiders are playing a lot more zone coverage. They have Khalil Mack, an elite player. They've got 2 first-rounders starting in the secondary, and Carl Joseph and Reggie Nelson. 2 more starting in the secondary from the second round, David Amerson and Sean Smith. And yet, even with all of that talent, number 31 in yards per pass, number 32 in sack percentage last year. So what's the change? Well, they're using zone coverage. The defensive back's much more comfortable. It gives a fraction of a second more for the pass rush to get there. And they got another first-round pick in Gary and Conley, who's getting into the rotation as well. Defense has been better so far this season. Of course, Washington and Kirk Cousins have had success in the past picking apart some zone defenses that he's faced. Another thing the Raiders are doing well, hey, Marshawn Lynch has gotten the job done so far. He's grinding. doing what he does, 4 yards a carry on 30 attempts. And that's what they need out of Lynch. They want to grind clock to keep the defense off the field and set things up for a play-action game. Derek Carr's only been sacked twice in 62 dropbacks, and he hasn't had anything even close to an interception yet. Here's a quote from Derek Carr. The OL and the wideouts, running backs picking up blitzes. With the way we're able to pick up blitzes, we're able to hit go routes for touchdowns. We're able to push the ball. Without them doing their job, I can't do it by myself. Everyone gives the quarterback credit and all those things because you always touch the ball, but I give all those guys credit. Oakland had an elite offensive line last year. They have an elite offensive line again this year that could well be a problem against a suspect Redskins defensive front. But, I mean, Washington did something right against L.A. last week against the Rams. They ran the football extremely effectively. I mean, they really did. We know that there's big drop-offs for Cousins numbers because this is what life's going to be like without Deshaun Jackson and Pierre Garçon. Look at the numbers right here. Check out this graphic. You know, the completion percentage is up. Oh, shoot. I got the numbers transfixed. My apologies on the graphic. The number that should be 2016, the numbers are good. 2017, the numbers are way down. Completion percentage down, yards per pass down, passer rating down significantly for Cousins this season. Again, I apologize for the graphic. That's my fault. I just put 2017 where 2016 could be and vice versa. The bottom line, Cousins way down. And there's also a little bit of a scheme change, perhaps. A little bit more running the football. It may well have been something of the matchup against the Rams, but the fact is, last week was run, and run some more. Here's a quote from Jay Gruden. We stayed with the plan, stuck with the running game. We played the Rams before, different front, but we felt like we could run the ball. It's a very active defensive front. We felt like we got bigger people and could move them around a little bit. It's easier said than done. We challenged our players, linemen, tight ends, and everybody, and they rose to it. I would expect to see more of the same game plan here against Oakland, but key injury note, Jordan Reed, who's leading the team with 11 receptions so far, he's banged up. He's also a pretty good run blocker. They brought in Vernon Davis for depth. Davis, only one catch so far. He's really on the downside of his NFL career. Play of the day time here on SportsBIT. Like I said, I've been running pretty darn good with these plays of the day late. Let's see if we can keep it rolling. And this is a wake up and win opportunity for you on Sunday morning. Again, 6:30 a.m. here on the left coast, 9:30 for those of you on the East Coast. We're going to take a look at Jacksonville and Baltimore. Game number 461, 462. Let's take the Jags and the Ravens under 39.5. I don't trust either one of these offenses. Both teams are significantly better defensively than they are offensively. Jags have a bad quarterback. They don't want to turn the ball over. They want to grind it on the ground. Baltimore has an offensive line that is in disarray right now. They are going to rely on their defense to win this one. Look for a defensive struggle in London at Wembley. Jags Ravens under 39.5. That's our play of the day. There you have it, folks. Another week in the books. SportsBIT Betting Insight today. We'll be back on Monday. Paulie and I breaking down all the bad beats, bad bets, bad for the books. You got to watch Monday's show. It is much-watch TV for any sports bettor. Check it out right here, sportsbookreview.com. Thank you so much for watching. Enjoy your weekend. Best of luck. That's all I got. Cheers.